Hi there folks, my name's Novo24 and welcome to another Microsoft Flight Simulator product review, and today we are having a look at this little gem of a GA aircraft. We of course are looking at the recently released Piper PA-38 Tomahawk from the team over at Just Flight. So before we get started in this review, I do want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you to the team over at Just Flight for providing me with the review copy of this aircraft today we're going to be having a look at, as the Microsoft Flight Simulator's connection decides that it doesn't want to play very nicely for me anyway. We're going to continue on with the review because the aircraft is the important part. So we're having a look at this aircraft today because it is the latest release from them and it continues to grow the very expansive GA line that Just Flight already produced, and for me is a bit of a nostalgia trip because I remember flying this aircraft in FSX and prepared back in the day, and I always loved it. I've never flown in one personally in real life, but I have seen them operate out of the airstrips, the airfields that I've personally operated out of, so it's always a bit of nostalgia seeing these ones. So the team over at Just Flight have become quite known for their work with GA aircraft and producing really high quality GA aircraft. So let's have a look today and see if this aircraft lives up to it. And spoiler, it absolutely does, though it has some interesting quirks here that I will get into later in the review video. We're going to go through our standard review process today. We're going to be having a look here at the external model, and then we're going to go into the office. We're going to go through a cold and dark start, and but we're going to go through and we're going to add in an interesting little addition for this one that I think is a first for the GA line from Just Flight. I may be wrong there, but it's the first time I've experienced, and something that I'm really in love with. Then we're going to go through a little bit of a test flight over here through the countryside of southeastern England, and then we're going to give our final thoughts. Alright, so the external model here. So the external model is definitely not the old model. I do want to say that. This is definitely a very detailed model here. We've got some great work has gone on into this aircraft. The texture quality, I definitely going to say that the texture quality and the overall quality of the modeling from the team over Just Flight has definitely been improving the longer that they have been involved with Microsoft Flight Simulator, which of course we always love to see when developers improve, and this is definitely a result of that. You've got a number of high quality liveries get included with this aircraft, including this very appropriate British Airways training livery for this one. Now, the Tomahawk is a training aircraft more than a tourist, and it does the sort of the aircraft's design and role does provide to that. And of course, you get a large number of very different flight schools from around the world, as well as some normal privately owned liveries are included with this. Great quality texture work as always here, but some of the things that I'm really loving here is this, and we'll get more into this when we do our pre-flight checks, is all the details that are coming through here, sort of like the reds. Like we've seen reds and things like that on other aircraft, but not quite like this. No, not quite like this, and we'll get more into that once we get into the pre-flight checklists. Great, and so a number of animations are included. This one obviously with the doors opening, which is kind of important. Hey Asobo, I am 100% looking at you for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Please, for the love of all things aviation, please put in opening doors. Moving on. And yeah, I absolutely cannot fault the textures or the model for this aircraft. It is absolutely spot on, so great work to the team there. Alright, with that brief but informative review of the outside of the aircraft, let's jump into the office and get started for our flight today. Alright, so here we are in the office of the PA-38 Tomahawk here, and it is a very basic office because this is a basic GA aircraft. This is a basic training GA aircraft, probably more importantly here. This aircraft serves predominantly in a training role. Yeah, it does also double as a two-seat tourer as well, because there's no seat at the back there. Get a small amount of baggage you can put there. Maybe put a packed lunch or something to go on a bit of a save your own $100 hamburger kind of run. But primarily this is a training aircraft, and the layout of the design very much corresponds to that. The team over Just Flight have done a absolutely bang up job of modeling this aircraft with a couple of quirky little things that are great to see because they are authentic to the real aircraft, but definitely can catch you if you're unaware, that is for sure, most especially with the doors. So you do get a number of options in terms of the cockpit here. Now, instead of modeling, different models separately, they do offer some panel selection options here. So this is the basic variant, which is the one that we'll be flying today, which is there's no GPS. So this aircraft hails from an era before the modern era of the magenta line. So this is about teaching pilots to do different forms of, the basics of flight and the basics of navigation without relying on the magenta line. But if you are looking for something a little bit more modern, you absolutely can engage the tablet over here, and you can go through a number of different GPS panel options. So you do have the GNS Dual, which uses the default Garmin avionics as supplied by the sim and working title. You also have the option of a GNS 530 over there, and then you also powered by that. Then you also have the option, if you have it installed, of the PMS GTN 750 series, so you do get the large screen and the small secondary screen over here. So you do have a number of different panel options available to you, and I do appreciate the fact that Just Flight, along with many other developers, are making these options available in the sim to us, so we don't have to worry about carving. The old days of Prepared and FSX, where you had to, carve out things in edit panel files and all that kind of nonsense. Now it is available for us straight away. So really, really nice, that one. All right, but there's a few other things going on in this panel. So this is the standard Just Flight. I'm just going to stop my camera jibbering around here with my head moving for a second here. So this is the standard electronic flight bag that you get with Just Flight aircraft, with a couple of extra differences. So you have this mostly around the maintenance idea. So one of the cool things that has been introduced with they've been leading up to this for quite a while with Just Flight, but the PA-38, I believe, is the first time they've fully implemented this, at least first time I'm experiencing it fully implemented, where you have a full walk around where you actually we'll actually do the walk around of the aircraft in a moment, where we actually remove all the chocks, the tie downs, pitot covers, all that kind of stuff as part of your pre-flight check. But not only that, we've got the persistent state feature has been part of Just Flight aircraft for many, many years now. But they've actually got condition and wear rate of components of the aircraft is now fully modeled. So for many like myself, who've been around the flight sim world for many, many years, this is the idea of the old A2A series of aircraft, where if you didn't treat your aircraft right, it would break. This is 100% what Just Flight have introduced with the PA-38 Tomahawk. I don't know whether we're going to see this retroactively introduced to some of their other GA aircraft line. It would be really kind of cool if they did. But the persistent state part has absolutely always been around for a while, but this, I believe, is new. Now you can change whether or not, how often what the wear rate is, whether you want it to be realistic, whether you want to be slow, or fast. So if you want to make things fail quickly, you can. Kind of cool, keeps track of your hours. You can overhaul the aircraft. You can enabling the wear and tear is how you get this part here. And failures here essentially does the same kind of thing, except if you have a component of the aircraft that gets to 0% of its life, what will happen? Will it fail, or will it just keep going and you just have to deal with some other consequences? So I like this factor, but I also really appreciate the fact that you can just a simple click disables these straight away, so you don't have to worry about it. So if doing this kind of simulation is not for you, no problems. You don't have to use it, and you can still get the benefit of all the great detail that the team over at Just Flight has put in. You do have the option to set the aircraft to be a random condition. This has been me doing some test flying in this, so we are already starting to wear some parts down, but you do have the option to overhaul your aircraft at any time. Now, usual thing, we've got the standard aircraft states we've seen on the tablet before, but now let's do the part that I really want to get to, which is the walk around. So let's do this now. And as I said, I absolutely love the fact that they do this. So let's do our walk around. Okay, and we are going to start here. Where should we start? We'll walk around. We'll start here on the engine. So straight away, you are transported to the outside of the aircraft, but you have the tablet available to you as well. So you can actually go through, you can actually remove, so you actually have a checklist of what you have to do at each set, at each point. So, okay, so we can see here, we can go toggle our chocks. There we go. Okay, apparently sometimes you do have to. So I did find this a couple of times. I thought it was just me or not, but do you sometimes have to, use the button on the tablet if the click point doesn't always work for you? But sometimes you can do. But most of the click points do work. So we can do our nose check wheel condition. So we've got our 29 psi, 100% condition. Okay, that's good. We do our prop check. Actually do the animation of it actually turning over and checking the conditions. We can get condition is okay. And you can also do any repairs that you find on the fly during your pre-flight inspection. All right, now we'll do our fuel strain. Now I've got to remember where I do that one over here. That's probably the one thing is I'd like to have it like a little thing here so I can actually see where the click point is for that. Where are we? Check propeller. There we go. No fuel strainer. So you click that. No animation there, but you do have the to click that there and gear strut. So we're going to check our gear strut. There we go. Gear strut 100%. Okay, cool. All right, onwards to the next point of our checklist. So we're now on the other side of the nose. So we've removed our chocks already. We're going to do our right tire check. So we're 29 psi, good to go. Engine check. Now you do hear a little you do hear the click of the latch of it opening to actually sort of check that. It would be nice if it actually did open, but I'm not going to fault them for that. The fact that we are doing this walk around is a great step. All right, now remove our tie downs. Now the tie downs, because they are in multiple places, and I believe they're also tied to a click point inside the cockpit to be able to hide them. I'm finding that, and I just realized that as I said that, that's why the chocks are having trouble to remove. So we'll remove our tie downs. Okay, tie down removed. All right, and we'll do our fuel strain on this side, which, if I remember correctly, should be there. There we go. No water in the fuel. Okay, that's good. And we'll do the gear strut check. All right, all green. On to the next point. All right, next one. We are checking our ailerons and flap and fuel quantity. So we're going to check our fuel quantity first. So we've got a full set of fuel on board. Now you can also use this to quickly refuel amount of fuel in here. I've set us up to a full load of fuel today for our flight, even though we absolutely do not need that amount of fuel. All right, we're going to check our aileron condition. Actually seeing the yoke move when you're actually moving that aileron. That's kind of cool. And we'll do our flap checks. All right, flap condition okay. On to our next point. All right, so we're on the elevator, the T-tail assembly here, which actually will be very interesting and, of course, some interesting flight conditions later on in the review video. So we're going to check our elevator condition. I lean forward. Can I see the stick moving just in the darkness of the cockpit there? All right, we'll check our rudder. And reassuring thunk when you're doing that. Okay, check radios. Nav on radios and antennas, all good. Excellent. On to the left wing. All right, so we're going to do our fuel quantity check. Fuel quantity is good, exactly what I'm expecting, 16 gallons. All right, we'll check our aileron. Again, seeing it correspond in the cockpit, which is a really nice touch. I think that's kind of cool. All right, and we'll check our flap condition. Flap condition's okay. Now returning back to the front wing here. So we're going to do our left wheel check. 29 psi, 100% condition on the tires. Okay, we'll do our stall warning check. Okay, is good. All right, tie downs remove. As I said, I have I've seen this here, as I said, a couple of times here, so we're going to toggle that tie down off. There we go. Pitot heat cover. Check pitot head. Pitot head is good. And toggle tie down. So these seem to be the only two that The only ones that I seem to have trouble with is the tie down, the pitot heat cover, and the chocks. Otherwise, everything else I can click and interact with. All right, fuel strain. It should be that one there. No water in the fuel. And check our gear strut. There we go, and walk around complete. So the fact that this is very reminiscent to me of A2A, and I don't recall doing. I think this is one of the, if not the first, then one of the few aircraft in the sim that actually has a full-fledged interactive external walk around that you can complete. So I really like this. I think this is really well done. All right, now back into the cockpit to continue our pre-flight. Alright, so here we are back in the office. So our pre-flight walk around is now complete. So now we can check up, do our start. So I'm going to toggle that tablet off, and I am going to bring up our checklist. And again, the team over Just Flight have done a really good full checklist. So if you didn't want to use that interactive one, you can actually sort of go down and check everything here as well, which is kind of cool. All right, so we're going to go to here. We're going to do cabin doors closed and latched. Now, this is something that absolutely I am 100% will own. Caught me when I was first starting to fly this. So we close the door. We'll close both passenger and the pilot door. And we will latch them closed, but they are not actually engaged until you set the overhead latch here. And also, if you don't unlock this, yet you can open, you can unlatch the side door, you can go to open it, but it won't open unless the overhead latch is released. So I was like, when I first loaded in, I was like, why are my doors not opening? I've unlocked them, they're not opening. And it's like, yeah, because I actually have to read the manual and actually follow checklists and stuff like that. So I know it's a small thing, and it was probably something that people might complain about, but at the same time, this is great to see the amount of detail that's gone into here. So great work to the team over at Just Flight once again. All right, so seats adjust and locked. I am locked in my chair here in my office, so we are good to go. All right, seatbelts and harnesses fastened. Circuit breakers are in. So we don't have a lot of circuit breakers in this, but we do have them checked. There we go. That is good. All right, parking brake is actually, I don't remember where the parking brake is. Parking brake is here and is set. Excellent. Carburetor heat is full off. Go. Now I'll make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yes. Okay, that is fine. All right, fuel selector set to desired tank. All right, so that's currently in fuel cutoff, so we're on the left tank now. That is good. All right, off to engine start. All right, now again, depending on how you treat the engine, because if you don't treat this engine right, it could end up being that you have a flooded engine and you have to deal with it starting when hot and cold. So again, this is the great part about this. The team have really thought so much of this. All right, so we're going to need to prime. This is our first flight of the day, so we are going to need to prime our engine today. So where my engine primer is here, so we're going to all right, 4 shots of primer. Okay. Engine open 1/2 inch. Okay, master switch is on. Electric fuel pump is on. Mixture full rich. Starter engage. There we go, engine is running. And I love the fact that it's simple, yes, it's obvious, and to many of us who've been flying GA aircraft for a really long time, this is probably not going to be a huge thing to us. But it is something that we are going to, be used to. I just realized this has a different primer, so I probably shouldn't have done that. Whoop. Anyway, okay, throttle advanced slightly. Okay, fuel pump is now off. Okay. Checked. Fuel pressure is good. Fuel pressure stable, and primary is locked again. Okay. Alright, on to our warm-up. So we're going to have to make sure that we put our... So it does miss a couple of items. I think in the checklist does miss a couple of items, for example, not turning the alternators on and stuff like that. So that's a little bit odd that they didn't have, it feels like there's a page missing from the checklist here. But anyway, so I'll go through and I'll give you what I know from my GA experience here. Okay, so we're going to go alternator is on. Okay. We're going to do anti-coals lights on, which absolutely should have been on before we started the engine. But anyway, moving on. And so that is good. Okay, we are set. As I said, there's not a lot to this aircraft. There really isn't. This is a fairly basic aircraft. It doesn't there's not too much going on with it. It just is what it is. Alright, let's turn on our avionics. So VOR. Alright, so let's check out. Now we are doing, as I said, we've got no GPS for this particular flight today, but we are going to be going to a VOR is going to be the intention today. So let's set up our VOR. Okay, that is go to probably helps if I go to my nav radios. That probably helps. All right, so we're gonna go to 114.35. That will be our frequency today. So 11435, and our heading will be, course will be 040. Will be our outbound course. We're going to the CPT VOR on our journey today, so we're going to be doing a bit of a proper practice flying today. So we're going to be setting our course on our nav for 040 degrees. Go. Okay. Right, the nav radio is set. Slave to our nav 1. We are good to go there. So we're going to put our pitot heat on because it is always rather chilly here in the UK. And we are going to start our taxi out here from Thuxton. So Thuxton is an airport brought to us from Burning Blue Designs, and it's a great, fun little airport. I love Burning Blue Designs airports because they do some really, really good work with some really funky little GA airfields in the UK, and it's always great to see more love being shown to GA airfields. Alright. Make sure we try not to hit our AI ground personnel there. Now the ride does also feel different depending on the sort of terrain that you're riding across. I noticed that there's a difference going across from the grass that we started on over onto the tarmac here, and that is something that is very obvious that it is different for this aircraft. So great to see. We are going to do our departure here once we've lined up. Set. We're going to do a flapless takeoff today. I'll check my trims. Set for neutral. Alright, actually, before I do that, I should probably do my warm-up, because I did say before we have to treat the engine with some bit of love and care, so we're going to come back off the side here. We're going to park up here, and we're going to do our engine warm-up, because I did say that we have to treat the engine right, because I didn't treat the engine right earlier, and it did not end well. Okay. Alright, so we're going to put our parking brake, we're going to bring our checklist back up. Okay, so engine warm up. So throttled 800 to 1200 RPM. Alright, so we've got our radios are on. Taxi area clear, brakes were checked, and steering was checked. Alright, ground checks. Alright, throttle set to 1800 RPM. Okay, throttle set to 1800 RPM. Magnetos, watch for the drop. Okay, back to both mags. Alright, vacuum pressure is good. No issues on our amps, oil pressure, fuel pressure, oil temps are all good. Okay, carburetor heat is to check. We're gonna leave our carb heat off this afternoon. Okay, throttle retard. Okay, magnetos are checked. Magnetic grab for check of magneto grounding at low RPM by setting magneto switch to off, and then immediately back to both. All right, let's see if we can do this one. Yep. That actually works. I'm used to that not working in other aircraft. So again, the systems modeling is done incredibly well done. Like, this is great. I'm absolutely loving this. The fact that they have taken the time. This is something that I really appreciate about what the team at Just Flight are doing. So, two thumbs up to the whole team for that one. All right. So we got our battery master switches on check. Okay, flight instruments are checked. We're going to check our pressure. We are good. Alright, flight instruments are checked. Fuel selector, we can use our right tank because we'll be running off the left tank to start with. We do our mixture is set full rich. Fuel pump is set to on. Carburetor heat is off. Engine gauges are in the green. Static source set to normal. These over here. I know I've seen this in a previous pre-flight. Okay. Seats securely latched. Seat backs erect. Seatbelts if your tray tables are in the seats in the upright position and your tray table stowed. Empty seats, flaps set. We're going to, as I said, we're going to use a flapless takeoff. Trim tabs are set. Trim wheel set to neutral. Alright, controls free and clear. I'll put my yokes back on display now. We finished messing around with the mags. Okay. I can check that there. Okay, rudder is good. Alright. Doors closed and latched. Overhead latch engaged. Yes, I checked that one before. And also, fun story, if you don't engage that properly, then the sound does change. Like, you actually hear the extra wind rustling into the cockpit. Alright, we've done our run up. We are good to go. So we're going to release our parking brake. We're going to taxi out onto the runway here. Okay, landing light on. And here on 07. Alright, I believe we are ready for takeoff. Alright. Throttles up. Yeah, it does have a little bit of a pull. Wrong power. Not that there's a lot of power in this aircraft. Like, I mean, it's got a max speed of 120 knots. So it's not like there's a lot of power in this aircraft. But at the same time, it has a little. It does have that little bit of a pull. Nose up. Because it is such a light aircraft, she does respond to environmental factors very, very noticeably on the climb out there. She very much feels like, you know, she's responds to that. Alright, we're going to climb up and then we're going to pass over the center field and we're going to head on our course of 040. So this is, you know, there's all stick flying, no autopilot in this aircraft. And this is a training aircraft, so you feel a lot more with the airframe than perhaps you might be used to in some, you know, bigger, more powerful aircraft. Like you genuinely feel a lot about the aircraft with this one. Now I just realized that basically 040 is basically essentially behind us, so I'm going to go a circuit over the field here, and then I'm going to come back around onto my course, because I was taught when I was navigating that when you need to pass over the center of the point. So if you're, you know, drawing a line from an airport, you take off, you circuit around the airport, and then you start your time, you start your course from over the center of the airfield. But it gives us a good chance to have a look at Thuxton from Burning Blue Designs. Great airport that they've done there, complete with the nearby racetrack. Actually, is it a thing in the UK where airports seem to have racetracks around the outside? I've noticed there's a few of those. There's been a couple of those that the team over at Burning Blue Designs have made now. Alright, let's do our turn here. Trim the aircraft down. We're going to be looking at coming up on 2,000 feet. For 040. There we go. So slightly to the left of the, slightly to the right of track at the moment. Coming up on 2,000. So she's not exactly, you know, fast to get up to speed. She sort of just plods along. She's a bit of the tortoise and the tortoise and the hare idea, I suppose. This aircraft is definitely very much a tortoise, but this is what this aircraft, why it's appreciated as a training aircraft, because you feel the air around you. You feel the movement of everything here. So I definitely feel that Just Flight have managed to capture that really, really well, with the fact that, you know, this aircraft, you do feel the changes in the air around you. You do feel the turbulence probably a bit more than you do in larger, more powerful aircraft. Combining that with the walk around, you actually being engaged with the aircraft when completing those items, is a really neat thing. And this is where I can see this kind of aircraft being used, even here virtually, to really assist training, because it has that capability. It can teach you the walk around, and this is where this is where simulation gaming can absolutely be of assistance to real world training. And for those who want to simulate doing the real world thing and fly the real world thing, this is a great way to get that experience without spending all that money on fuel. Anyway, so we've got the aircraft here. It's very quick and easy. Like, you very quickly get up into the sort of the high end of your cruise, your clear air cruise speed. So the average speed that you're going to be doing is only going to be around about 110 knots. Like, you're not getting in this aircraft to go somewhere quickly. Is the thing. You are not getting in this aircraft to go somewhere very, very quickly. You're getting in this aircraft to enjoy the scenery beneath you and to get some fun experience with flying. And this aircraft really nails that pretty damn well. So we've got our capturing our nav radio signal there. We've got everything working as expected. So I'm really liking this avionics setup here. You get that sensation of going through that turbulent air here, bumping along as I absolutely would expect in an aircraft like this. And I think that they've captured that so very, very well. As I said, yeah, there is no autopilot in this. This is hand flying. You can trim it out pretty well, but because it does react to the environmental conditions, you still have to be on the trim wheel. You still got to have a finger on the yoke to sort of bring it around and get you back into where it needs to be. Nice, just bumping along there, pretty cool. All right, well let's see if I can trim this out enough to get us into a where I can. I think I need to find some more clear air, I think, before I can jump outside and we can have a look at that. Maybe I'll get my co-pilot to take over for a few minutes while we continue flying here. Let's try that. I think that might be a good idea on this one. Let's try that. All right, now with a bit more altitude and slightly clearer air, we can have a look at the aircraft outside in its natural environment. And again, as we pointed out on the ground, like the model of the aircraft is really well done. There's a lot of great detail in here. The texturing has got some incredible work done on it. I absolutely cannot fault any of the work that the team have done on the exterior. Combined with the interactive nature of the walk around and some really unique liveries that the team have included. Like, this is a great visual package. It really is. This aircraft, I feel, in some ways is going to be underrated because, you know, it's a very small, very slow, two-seat trainer piston aircraft, and I feel it's going to be underrated by a lot of people. And yet it's probably important to remember that, you know, for all the airliner pilots in the world, they started on an aircraft just like this, you know, if not this exact aircraft. So I think that there's a lot to be learned from flying this aircraft, and I'm not gonna lie, I learnt a lot about my own skills with flying this aircraft, particularly coming into landing, because I learned a very valuable and very important lesson on what's your normal versus the reality of things and the simulated reality of an aircraft. Alright, so that's the external model here. Let's have a quick look at it at night. So at night, this is an aircraft that is not necessarily sort of, you know, you can fly it at night, but there's not a lot to it. So if you're expecting, you know, big taillights or whatever, there isn't much going on here. But you do have a really nice strobing effect of the landing lights through the prop, which I think is really kind of cool. Let's step back into the office to have a look what that's like at night, and there's not much to it. So the nav and panel lights, interestingly enough, are actually tied to a knob down here, and this controls both the external nav lights and also the internal panel lights. So they are actually linked together, so something to be aware of. And then you have the radio sort of backlighting of any avionics you've got controlled through here. Now, in terms of, you know, what there is here, there's not a lot. Like, yeah, this is a basic aircraft. There's basic panel lighting, and that's it, because this is a training aircraft, and it's to make sure that your instruments are cleared for when you are flying at night. So not much to it. That's pretty much about it and the way it is. And also, I did want to point out that I said before that there was no autopilot with this aircraft, and that is partially true, because there is no autopilot in here. However, fortunately, Just Flight have put in, at least in this particular model here, there's no autopilot. The Just Flight have put in the tablet here, so if you are using this old panel variant here, which didn't have any of the mod cons, then it does have a autopilot up here on the tablet. So hence why I was able to get these nice steady pictures of the aircraft in flight. Alright, let's jump back to real time. Alright, so I'm going to turn off my autopilot here now, because I'm about to fly over the VOR here, because we're doing a practice VOR flight. So this is much like a flight that a student pilot would fly here, that we're doing a VOR navigation exercise. We've flown over the VOR here. I'm watching for when the VOR is going to start to turn, which will be very, very shortly. I can already see it starting to diverge here, so I'm going to watch that. Watching that needle, the variance is already starting to grow, so it must be pretty close to that VOR right now. And then once we pass over it, which is basically now, there it goes. Right. So we've got zone of confusion over the top of the VOR. So our new course is going to be for 088 degrees for our next course. So 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. I'm really grateful for this little tooltip here. I'm really grateful for that. Alright, so we're going to do an outbound. We're going to do a outbound VOR for 080 degrees. I'm going to turn on that. This gives us a chance to do a steep turn. Actually, you know what? We're not going to use that as an examination of my steep turn, because I was not focusing on my my flight skills there. So we'll do that a little bit later. So we're going to need to cut back along the line here. So we're going past 080, so we can get back onto the outbound VOR line. There it goes. Put the aircraft in, and of course I'm going to overshoot it. Not too far. Go. Oh, bit of rough air again there. There we go. Alright, so we're back on our VOR course. So this is the kind of exercise that you would absolutely be doing as a student pilot flying a Tomahawk. You know, it would be expected that you would do something like this with VOR navigation. And looking for things like, you know, I don't have a distance to DME information available to me. I just had to watch for when the needle started to behave differently, and then from that I can figure out that yes, I'm about to go through the zone of confusion, which means I take it off autopilot, take it on manual control, and then reset my new heading to the new direction, and then fly and re-intercept the heading. Alright, let's take this opportunity now to do a bit of a turn test here. So as I said, like, this aircraft is a very interesting aircraft, you know, because it is so light, it does respond to environmental factors pretty strongly. So let's now let's reset our altitude now to 4,000 or 3,000 feet, sorry. And then we're going to do a steep turn. We'll see how it handles. Apparently the server connection for me while I'm doing this video is terrible today. Back a little bit. I'm definitely way too far in the yellow today for doing these kind of maneuvers. So let's bring us back down to about I want to go to about 110 knots is what I'll be sitting at. Alright, so let's do... Alright, stable at a little over 3,000 feet, trimmed out. Alright. Alright, let's do our turn. Definitely, a bit bumpy, but it is accessible and it absolutely performs the maneuver within the tolerance that I would be expecting, particularly of my slightly rusty GA flying skills at the moment. I'm able to maintain that 30 degrees of bank with... So what, about 100, I've lost about 100 feet. And, snapping out of that a little bit early. Snap back out on course. So one of the things that this aircraft is, it is a beautiful aircraft to fly, but it is a hands-on aircraft to fly. You will be flying this aircraft the whole time. It has the trims are available to you, and you will be trimming the whole time. And it is something to remember that the environmental conditions will absolutely make a huge impact on the way you fly this aircraft. Alright, what we're going to do, we've had a look at it at night, we've done our nav exercise, we've done our tight turn in maneuvers here. Let's now head on to our circuit and landing here, where I want to point out something that absolutely caught me unawares when I took this aircraft for its first test flight on my first stream of this aircraft. So let's rejoin this video as we come in for our circuit and landing. Alright, as we start to turn into our downwind pattern here at White Waltham Airfield to come in for our landing here. Now, this is the circuit and landing procedures. I mean, those of us who've been flying GA for a while, we're probably already familiar with it. This is something that I really want to highlight with this video, is that with this aircraft, there is something very unique, or maybe not unique, but definitely it was the first time I'd experienced with this aircraft. Of course, standard thing, you're coming in for approach. You start by lowering your first stage of flaps. And something caught me by surprise when I first dropped my flaps with this aircraft, which was the nose suddenly pitching down 20 degrees like it did just then when I kicked the flaps in. Now, I will be the first to admit that when I first had that happen to me with this aircraft, I immediately suspected that there was something wrong with this aircraft. That I absolutely will own the fact that I thought there was something wrong with the flight model. That I thought, what is going on? Just Flight have done such an amazing job with this aircraft. How can they mess up something so normal, so common, like the behavior of the flaps on the aircraft when coming in, when engaged? And because my normal, and this is something that I really want to highlight in this video here today, is that my normal, and I'm coming in way too low on this approach, I think, my normal for both, real world aircraft that I have flown in, that I've been piloting command for, as well as the aircraft that I have flown for countless hours here in the sim, in various sims over the years, is that you engage flaps, nose goes up, speed goes down, nose goes up. In this aircraft, speed goes down, nose goes down, and that is something that I was not expecting. Now, and when I streamed my initial first flight for this aircraft, I 100% said, I don't think that's right. I think that there's a problem with this, and there's my second stage flaps going in and my nose dropping drastically there, and I'm having to rapidly adjust the power and adjust my trims. And I sort of went, okay, you know, there's something wrong here, and I was really worried. But what I did is that I then went, okay, let's go and do some research. So I spent a lot of time researching quite a number of, you know, real world flights of Tomahawks, of PA-38. So not the simulated one, the actual real ones, and actually sort of going, okay, how does this aircraft actually fly in real life? You know, what happens in real life when you engage the flaps? And what I learnt was that this aircraft 100%, when it comes in, when you engage the flaps, it 100. Oh, that's not good. I definitely flared way too long there because I'm not used to it. That this aircraft in real life, 100%, when you engage the flaps, it absolutely has that. Has that sort of 10 to 20 degree nose down drop, and that absolutely blew me away. So that for me is something that I really, really want to highlight in this review video because, one, it's going to catch people out. I mean, it absolutely caught me out. I have thousands of hours in simulators, and it absolutely caught me out. And the thing is that the praise has to go to the team over at Just Flight, because not only did they not take the easy option, well, not only did they not take the easy option of going, hey, this is what everybody used to, you know, flaps go out, nose goes up. They actually went, no, we are going to model this correctly, and actually modeled it just like the real aircraft, where they went, no, when the flaps go out, nose goes down. So the team of Just Flight absolutely have to be praised for the fact that they are modeling the aircraft in, you know, as realistically as possible. They absolutely are. Now, I would love to know, I don't know if anybody with the knowledge is going to look into is going to see this video, but if anybody knows aerodynamically why that is, the only thing I can think of is that it is a T-tail design. That's the only thing I can think of that would potentially be the reason for this happening like that. If anybody knows why, I would love to hear why, you know, it is that this aircraft does that, because T-tails, I do know, my supposition is that it's because it's a T-tail, but I have no real life experience with T-tail aircraft and limited sim experience with T-tail aircraft, so I don't know, but I would love to hear from somebody out there who knows about this and would be able to let me know, you know, what that is, you know, what the case is in real life, because I think it's great that Just Flight have actually modeled this correctly, and is a huge, you know, it is a huge kudos to the team over Just Flight for providing this great option. Now, I'm curious about what I've done. Yeah, now, so because of that rather hard landing that we just did, I can see I've got a maintenance warning that we can talk about once I finish the review video. So, of course, 100%, that was totally planned, that poor landing. Anyway, all right, let's shut this aircraft down. So let's engage our parking brake, and we're going to mixture fuel cutoff. We're going to shut the mags off. All right, lights are off. And lights off. There we go. Pitot heat, coals, landing lights, fuel pump is off. Battery and alternator are off. There we go. Okay, and done. Now let's secure our aircraft here. We're going to uncheck our overhead latch. I'm going to open the door, because I'm thinking that my passenger probably wants to get the hell out after that horrible landing. And we're going to toggle our chocks into place. There we go. And I thought the reds were going to appear here, but they do not. So we'll have to manually fit those. All right, let's have a look here. What does my... Here we go. I like the summary here. It says, yeah, right tire, poor condition, left tire, low pressure, poor condition. Right. So I'm going to guess, if we go and have a walk around right now before we do a before we do that, let's just actually go and have a look at this. I want to have a look at this before we before I do my final thoughts, because I think this will feed into it. All right, let's go into, I think this one's got the wheel. Okay. Okay, so we're going to toggle our tie downs on, and we're going to put our pitot cover on. There we go. Okay, now let's have a look at the left tire. 0 psi. Basically, I blew the tires. Right, so that was 100%. Yep, I absolutely totally planned that terrible landing. But this actually serves a really good point. That it actually shows that, yeah, if you don't treat your aircraft with a sufficient level of respect and correctly, it will come back in it. You will have a behavior, like you will find this. And I will bet that if I tried to, I bet that's why that taxi was a little rougher, and you may have heard the audio would definitely sounded very different from taxiing across the grass here than it sounded like when I was taxiing across the grass back when we started our flight here at Thuxton. So great work, Just Flight. Love the work. I'm going to have to remember to overhaul that before I take my next flight. All right, let's jump outside and let's give our final thoughts on this aircraft. All right, so final thoughts on the PA-38 Tomahawk from the team over at Just Flight for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is an aircraft that for me was one that I absolutely love this aircraft. I've got a lot of fond memories flying in the Tomahawk in the Legacy Sims, and I am really excited. And I was really excited, and I am really excited to be able to fly it again in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It is an aircraft that has a lot to teach a lot of aviators, both old and new. It will remind you that this sim has a lot going on under the hood. That this is flying when you actually have to fly, like particularly if you fly it without any of the mod cons. Like you do actually have to be hands on stick the whole time. In another aspect, this also is a fantastic add-on because of the depth of the simulation of the systems. Now, yes, it's not got a lot of, yes, it doesn't have an FMC. Yes, it doesn't have, a bunch of electric systems, but it's more than that. It's got the persistent state. It's got the condition of actually making sure that you pay attention to your aircraft and how your aircraft is, how you handle your aircraft, and teaches you that there are consequences to that if you don't do it right. So I think that what the team have done here is absolutely fantastic. I am so excited. This is bumped very 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 high on my list of add-ons to recommend because of that. Now, yes, I know that, as I said, if you're into tube liners, this may not seem like an aircraft that you want, but actually I think it is, because this has something to offer everybody. Whether you're, a GA person who loves GA flying anyway, you're going to love it because it's another great, highly detailed and, system feature complete aircraft, with all the realism, with all the failure systems, with all the damage modeling. You're going to love it. But for the perspective of maybe people who don't normally fly GA aircraft, this is also an aircraft for you to look at, because it will teach you so much about flying, so much about airmanship, and so much about how to handle an aircraft and how to basics, fundamentals of flight that every airliner pilot, every military pilot in the world went through and started on an aircraft just like this. So I think for those reasons, this is an aircraft that is absolutely should be on everybody's wish list, if not already in your hangar. So comes highly recommended from me. I cannot recommend it enough. I really can't. And it's because it's low and slow. You get to appreciate the world that we have here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And it's exciting to see how this world continues to grow. So there you go. There is my absolutely glowing review after a terrible landing that now I'm going to have to go spend figuring out what I need to fix in this aircraft and overhaul. But there you go. And with that, folks, that does now round out this review video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by following me on Facebook and on Twitter and on Twitch. Just search Novawing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.